Estate Show with Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. Today, my guest is Jim Onesti from KW Empower. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Pat. Excited to be here.
Very good, very good. Okay, so I always start off with asking, how did you get started in real estate?
Went to college for one semester, decided it wasn't for me.
Right.
Got into sales right away, started making some money, but I always knew I'd come back to real estate because my dad was in real estate for a long, long time. It was in my blood. Always thought I'd get into it. So at age 22, got into the business full time. And that's 24 years ago.
Okay. And then you started right out of the gate working for Mike McCann, the real estate man?
Day one with Mike McCann, the real estate man, still going strong. It's been an amazing ride.
Okay. And then how did you guys meet?
So my dad was a realtor in the 80s, right? And then a little bit in the 90s. So he said, all right, if you're going to get into real estate, there's only one guy to talk to, Mike.
Okay.
Go, you should find him and meet with him. Called up. He took a meeting with me. He was actually looking for one of his first people, his first buyer's agents.
Right.
We met. I liked him. He liked me. And actually, a great mentor of ours, May Acker, connected us. So I met with May first, who ran the office, and she said, I think you should talk to Mike. And she told Mike, hey, I think you should meet this kid. We hit it off, and
rest is history, right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does your book of business look like, and what is your footprint?
Yeah, so I'm all of Philadelphia, most of the burbs, some of Jersey. I work with developers. I work with investors. That's my niche, start to finish. Find them the deal in a lot of cases, help them design it, advise on what to build, help them with the pro forma, help them with the design. Obviously, once they build it, market it, promote it, sell it, repeat. But I'm heavy on the listing side.
Right.
Not so much working with buyers unless they're close friends, family, and long-time investor.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the development part of it, because I see your signs, 20 houses coming up, all different things. So how did you get started with the development side, working with investors?
Yeah. So I was 22. I knew nothing. I was fresh. My thesis was, if I can find great deals, anybody will work with me. My thesis was, this is the oxygen of a developer's business. They need the next deal to keep their machine moving. That's how they make their money. You make your money your way, I make my money. That's how they do it. They need to keep their vendors and their subs and their GCs and project managers busy, or they're going to lose them. They got to find that next deal. It's how they get paid. It's how they build their wealth. So I was like, okay, if I find a home run deal, who's not going to work with me?
Right.
Who's the biggest developer out there? They'll work with me. I deliver them a home run, a triple. And thesis was proven correct.
Right.
And I just got good at finding the deals, evaluating them properly, being conservative, not over aggressive, just trying to sell a piece of land and just saying, oh, if it works out, it works out. Never. Like I lose sleep even to today for my people.
Right.
Even if I didn't bring them the deal and somebody else sold it to, and now I'm selling the homes, I'm up at night, hoping it's going to make them enough money to keep their business going. So being conservative and hitting the mark over and over and over again. That's how I really started to.
Right. Okay, so the $1 million question is, how did you find the deals?
I tried everything. I was banging the phones, mailers, a lot of the old school ways, knocking doors. I loved walking up to a permit on a building, reading who that permit belonged to, then reaching out and chasing them. Still do that till today. That's a great way to do it. Used to go to the sheriff sales, used to network at the sheriff sales, went to a lot of networking events. But I find a lot of amazing deals in the MLS. There's a lot of deals in there, always were, always will be, for a lot of reasons.
Right. Now, when you're looking at the MLS, I could look at the MLS and see something. You see it. You see a deal. I see nothing. So what are you looking for? What is that secret sauce when you're looking at the MLS? And when you're putting these together, I guess you're looking at prices, construction costs, and to figure out if it's a deal. What does that look like?
Definitely backing into the numbers, starting at the end, with the end in mind. So what could it sell for? What's it going to cost to build? What's it going to cost to carry? What's it going to cost to acquire? Right. Time frame. But in the MLS, I'm looking for zoning uses. And what I'm really looking for is, okay, this broker priced it for this use,
Right.
but actually the highest and best use for this piece is this. So it should really be priced differently if I back into the numbers of what it could be. So there's a lot of that in the MLS, right? It has an amazing commercial zoning, and whoever listed it was just kind of looking at it as
one way versus maybe the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now how did you get to that point? You just starting out, you're 22, 23 years old. How did you figure that out? How were you able to see that insight, or was it just growing up, with your dad as an appraiser or being around real estate? How did it click, or was it just a gift?
It was a grind. Right. It was the other G word. It was a grind. So it was trial and error. But I think the one thing I did right was I was cautious. And so when I looked at a deal, I may have made 10 phone calls just to get the construction numbers right. Hey, Bob, what'd you build that property for over there per square foot? Hey, Larry, what'd you build that for? Hey, Sally, what'd you build that for?
Right.
All right, and that's how I kind of started to learn construction numbers. Oh, did you hire someone to build it, or did you build it yourself and not take a salary or a fee? And I was like, okay, this works. So I figured out that piece of the puzzle. Then I had to figure out the zoning piece of the puzzle, right, which is easy and hard.
Right.
But all right, this is zoned R10. What the hell does that mean? Let me go figure that out. Let me do a little research. Right. Then I figured out that piece of the puzzle. And then I just started to put the pieces together. I always went in conservative. Like if I brought you a deal and the range of the resale was 500 to 600K,
right,
I came to you and said, hey, you can bank on 500K. All right. Here's the range, but your pro forma needs to work at 5. Okay. And over again. 5, 5, 5. Does it work? Great. Let's do it. And then they sold for 5, maybe 5 1/4, maybe 540.
Right.
And then, okay, this guy has integrity and he knows what he's doing. If it went the other way, it's tough. And sometimes, no one's perfect and the market happens.
Right.
So nothing is flawless. But if you go in with the right intentions, there's a good chance it's going to work and you're going to get repeat business.
Okay, so at what point did everything come together for you and people came to you? Because if you're able to piece this together, I'm sure people came to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Does this make sense? Does it work? Am I on the right track? Or should I look at doing plan B versus A? So when did that start happening?
Yeah, a few years in, after a couple proof of concepts, right? I took a few from start to finish. They worked out exactly like I said, if not better. Word spread. I also came up with the strategy of I'm going to brand myself in those early years as the guy with the deals, the guys with the deal flow. I think I did a good job marketing and promoting that and smartly putting that in front of people. And then it worked. So people wanted to get on my deal list.
Right.
They wanted to work their way up my deal list, so they were at the top. And when I got a good shell, or I got a good condo conversion, or I got a good subdivision, it went to them first. So then the conversation started to be like, hey, what do you got? I don't have anything right now. Oh, well, I'm building a few homes over here that I found myself. You want to sell them for me? So business started to come to me that way. And then it all came down to executing. You can get the business, but if you don't execute, you're not going to get the repeat business. So getting it's one thing.
Right.
Then the hard work really begins. Keeping it, executing it, and repeating and doing it again.
So you're saying, hey, if somebody's building a 10-unit condo building or the 20 houses, it's the marketing and selling them is coming through. That's where
and being able to advise. Right. Just like in your business, there's a lot of pitfalls that really only you know about. Even me being a real estate professional, I can't speak to the loan industry and banking like you can.
Right.
And I've been doing real estate for 24 years, but I don't know the idiosyncrasies of what you do. So it's really learning those and over time executing on them and just being, I look at it as like I'm a strategic partner for my clients.
Right.
Like they can hire anyone to, sell a house, but I bring more to the table. I look at it like I'm their partner.
Right.
In a way. Right? Like my reputation's riding on it as much as theirs is, My well-being is riding on it just as much as theirs.
Right.
So kind of just really getting deep inside their business if I can.
Okay. And last question on this. Have you done development yourself or more of just the advising part of it?
I'm not a developer, never have been, never will be. I do look at myself as an investor. I've invested into projects. Sure, I've picked up little single family homes along the way and built a rental portfolio, but never been a developer. I have tried a couple small ones to learn the process. That was part of my process,
Right.
as you mentioned earlier. So a couple little things here and there to learn the process, to get that hands-on experience, kind of feel the pain a little bit and go through what, my clients are going through.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's jump subjects. The market. We're in a higher interest rate environment. We have low transactions.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing? And can you talk about the differences in the market? Because we're talking about Philadelphia would be, even within Philadelphia, there's all different markets, but then outside and New Jersey and, that kind of thing. So elaborate on what you're seeing.
When I'm out on the street and someone comes up to me and says, how's the market? I say, depends on who you are. If you're a buyer in the city market, it's okay. There's deals out there if you know what to look for, and it's actually a very good time to buy, but rates are high, but that can be addressed also. If you're a seller in the city, market's a little scary, it's not the best. If you're a seller in the burbs, it's the greatest market ever.
Right?
Amazing, right? If you're a buyer in the suburb, you want to slit your wrists.
Right.
Okay? If you're a multi-unit developer with 7,000 units to rent, you're probably a little nervous. If you're a renter, market's great. Plenty of opportunity. You know what I mean? If you're a South Jersey seller, you're living large. If you're a South Jersey buyer, market's terrible.
Right.
Painful, right?
Right.
So it really depends on who you are. You nailed it. Transactions are down dramatically. But in our peak years, 04, 05, 06, 6 million homes changed hands across the country. In our worst years, 4 million homes changed hands.
Right.
Okay. Still a lot of homes. So there's still a lot of transacting going on.
Right.
It depends what headline you're reading. You're probably very confused if you're not in it. But we're selling a ton of homes.
Right.
It's just taking longer. It's 10 times the work. It's 10 times as emotional, 10 times as confusing.
Right.
There's double the hurdles to overcome. But if you're a buyer, and you do your homework and you have a smart agent, it's a phenomenal time to buy, right? And if you're a seller and you're realistic and you do your homework and you have a smart agent advising you, it's a fine time to sell, no matter where you are, even in the city where sales are down a bit.
Okay. So what pushback do you get, if any, in reference to interest rates? Do you have sellers saying, well, I'm in a 3%, I don't want to go to a 7%, rate, that kind of thing? Or is there so much equity that a lot of the sellers they're just buying cash?
Yeah.
Because they're pulling, when they sell, they're walking away with 500,000, they're downsizing or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
What are you seeing as far as the sellers?
Seeing a few different things. Now remember, it's the interest rates and it's the lack of inventory. And those two things are working together. What you just mentioned is we have sellers who really want to sell, but they're sitting on a 3% mortgage and they want to buy again and finance. And the rates are double, if not more. So that is creating a little bit of a log jam in the market. And that's why some inventory is not coming up when it should be.
Right.
And then that has a domino effect. They don't list their home and move. That buyer who's going to buy that home can't move up from where they are. That first-time buyer can't move into their house. And we're all sitting around thinking, what the hell's going on here?
Right.
So a little bit of a log jam. The interest rate part of it, I think, and you tell me what you think, it's 75% emotional right now for a lot of people, okay? Because the reality of it is, a lot of these buyers can afford a 7% rate and be fine.
Right.
Will they come down a little bit and buy a little less house? Yes, but still their ratios look fine. They can afford it. No big deal. But I'm seeing the market when the rates tick up, the market just seizes up for a few weeks, few months. Then when there's some relief on rates, market opens up, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, it's a real spring market. Then some news comes out, rates maybe tick up again, dries up, contracts. So very emotional knee-jerk
Right.
reactions going on, which is causing people to like lock in leases and just being like, forget it. I'm just going to lease for another year. So there's a lot of that happening. But in my opinion, not a good enough reason to not buy. Okay? Because if you're a savvy buyer and you have a savvy agent, there's ways to attack that interest rate.
Right.
Okay. So we're doing a ton of buy downs, 2-1 buy downs, 3-2-1 buy downs, total rate buy downs. And most sellers, if they're savvy, are game. What do you need, buyer?
Right.
Let's do it. Right. So there's a lot of that out there if you can just piece it together.
Let me ask you the luxury market, because you're in the luxury market. Are you seeing differences in the million plus versus more of the average Joe type of price of the 300,000 to 500,000?
Yeah, so rates really started to climb midway through 2022, right? First quarter started to climb, then it really went up. I'd say since then, a really tough market has been the 2 million to 5 million market, okay, except for a couple little sectors. A good market has been the million to $1.7 million market. Okay. Surprisingly. And then the lower end markets, as you go down, the lower price markets are healthy.
Right.
They've been better than the jumbo luxury market. I think a lot of those 2 million, 2.2, 2.5, $2.8 million buyers who can afford just about anything, right, came down a bit and locked in a 1.7 home.
Okay.
1.7. I feel a lot of that volume came down into that mid-range luxury market, and I know it because I've met them at my $3 million listing.
Right.
Then I met them a month later at my $1.6 million listing, and they bought it.
Right.
So
now, and your developers, what are they focusing on as far as building? Are they now not looking at the 3 to 5 million? Are they looking to build more in between the 800,000 to $1.5 million homes?
All of the projects that were approved in 2021, 22, regardless of price, seemed to move forward, regardless of what was happening in the market for a lot of reasons. Some people just didn't have a choice. They're like, this is moving forward.
Right.
We'll see what happens. Now, fast forward, we're in 2024. People are being a lot more selective, okay? Because now there's a little bit of a history. As we were going through it, 2022, 2023, we still didn't know where this thing was going. So people were like, maybe it's just going to turn around in 6 months,
Go right down, right.
But now there's a little bit of a track record. There's a little bit of trailing data. So people know more what they're dealing with. So that's a long way of saying, I see a lot less $3 million homes starting today and starting in 6 months. I think people have definitely shifted down a bit.
Okay, so last thing, the overall market, Philly market, is still pretty good. There's inventory. Suburbs are kind of tough because there's no inventory. And South Jersey is the same kind of thing. No inventory.
Here's the difference. Inventory is really anemic everywhere. Burbs in Jersey, super, super low. Okay. City, still low inventory. And what makes this an unusual market is we have low inventory, high rates,
higher prices,
but prices have held steady, right? I think we'd have a big problem if we had a ton of inventory hitting the market all at once. So it's really unusual to have like this dynamic.
Right.
Usually
in 2008 there was a ton of inventory, so prices came down.
Yeah. So low inventory in the city, but the demand is less in the city than it is in South Jersey and the burbs. Okay. So that's the big difference. We all have low inventory, but there's just an extra demand right now on that low inventory in the burbs and in Jersey, whereas we don't have that extra demand like we do in an upmarket in the city. Okay. And that's the thing.
Perfect. Okay, so let's wrap things up here. If somebody wanted to find out more about you, do you have a Facebook, YouTube? You know, how does somebody find out some of your projects or how to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So if you're someone who's looking to start developing real estate or learn some tricks of the trade of developing real estate, investing in real estate, being a realtor, and capturing new construction and developer business, probably my YouTube channel is the best place to go. I have hundreds and hundreds of kind of like how-to videos. Instagram, TikTok, my website, jimonesti.com, mccanteam.com. Any of those places will lead you to my cell phone.
Right.
Or they could just call you and get my cell phone, my home phone, my address, everything. You got everything on me.
Full disclosure, I do sort of know you for like 20 plus years. So, but no, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
Great input. I really wanted to know about the development side of it because, I mean, that's really how we did some business, you know, way back when. So it was just interesting to me because when people are starting out, they really don't know. I mean, you know, they're just saying, "Oh, is there a buyer I can show?" I mean, you know, they don't really understand. But there's more to it. You have to really look and figure out what works, what doesn't work, and you really brought that to the table, which was you know, insightful.
Yeah, and I enjoy the complexity of that part of the business.
Right.
It's interesting. You know, it's interesting. It's fun. It's exciting. The stakes are higher. Right. You got to learn the craft.
Right.
You really got to learn the craft because you are representing things to people, and you got to be right.
Right.
So I take a lot of pride in doing my homework, putting the time in, the grit to get it right.
Okay. Jim, thanks a lot. And that's the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe below. I have great guests like Jim sharing some insights. Also, leave a comment. Tell me some show topics you like in the future. Remember, this show is everything real estate, no limits. Hope you enjoyed the show and